Looks like Twitch is working. Yeah, YouTube's not working. This is a lousy video. We're gonna restart again. Hey, YouTube's working now. Okay, very good. All right, I'm ready to go. If we can get some people here, do some announcing, get this up on Cagle.com. Thanks, Theo. Talk to you later. Bye. So I was just talking to my tech guy, Theo, about trying to get these streams working, and I think we made a little bit of progress. It looks like it's up on both YouTube and Twitch now, so I shall continue with the drawing. And since you folks are likely just seeing this on our site as this begins up, go back over what I'm doing. So this is going to be Donald Trump right here. Donald Trump is bashing Ted Cruz. Cruz is over here. Here's Trump. Trump is bashing Ted Cruz on the head with his speech balloon. And the speech balloon has a Canadian flag in it. So, worth their argument. That needs to fly over his head like that. Get bashed. Bash lines. See if we can keep this going. Yeah, YouTube's working. Just went black for me, but sorry about all these problems. Okay. So, continuing with Trump. Like it's been working all this time on working on Twitch. Good, good, good. Three people watching on Twitch, 3 people watching on YouTube. 4 people on YouTube. Okay, so back to the drawing. So here's going to be Trump's head. Cruz's head. And one thing that I showed a little earlier on that I think got lost was some of my earlier drawings on this. Here's an earlier Ted Cruz. This is an homage to British cartoonist Steve Bell. Here's the one that I drew early last week, Donald Trump on the teeter-totter with all the Republican candidates. Looking at some of my earlier Trumps. This is another one I did a live stream of not long ago. You can see me drawing this one, Trump and the Republicans. This one, Trump and his immigration policy, pendejo. This one was not getting much press, I think, although I'm happier with my caricature of Trump on this. Schiller's looking good. Here, excuse this noise. Moving my microphone. And here's Trump as the Pied Piper with all the little Republican children. People wrote to me thinking that I was doing Trump leading the rats out of town, that the Republicans are all rats. No, I was thinking of him as stealing the kids, so it's much less sinister than all of that. This one got a whole lot of play. Trump with his noose tongue. This ran in USA Today. This was what the editors wanted, but it's just not a very prescient cartoon because that's not the way things went. And here's another one, the media following Trump to the dismay of the Republicans. Trump and Jeb Bush with Jeb Bush's monkey on his back. This one, I don't think I'm that happy with my Donald Trump in this one. Happy with Jeb and W, but Donald's not looking too good. And this is an oldie that I did some years ago when Trump was doing all of his birther stuff about Obama. And didn't have a good Trump then, but he was younger and thinner and just as Neanderthal. So, hey, there he is. This is interesting. We've got people watching, but nobody leaves comments. Anyway, it looks like the process is working now. I think we finally got both Twitch and YouTube streaming. Welcome, everyone. Nice to see a few people watching on Twitch. I'm going to see if I can try to get Twitch working. I've been doing just YouTube so far, but I like the creative community on Twitch. And I think it's fun to show up there with all the other guys doing their drawings. So, drawings and sculptures and paintings. The creative community is a nice idea there. So, I would like to support Twitch in this regard. I think this is a nice turn of events for them. Okay, Cruz is getting whacked. Oh, I should say... there is my photo scrap of Ted Cruz. And photo scrap of Donald Trump. And photo scrap of the Canadian flag. There you go. So we go back to the drawing. And thank you for the nice thumbs up, Alan. Nice to see somebody watching this. I'm so still dealing with all the technical problems. People are telling me that they can't leave comments on YouTube, so it's reassuring to see any comment. All right. So, am I happy with everything, and am I ready to start drawing their faces? Is the question that faces me. All the news on TV is about the Iranians taking the American sailors into custody. And it just strikes me that if they did have mechanical problems, as the White House claims, this could all be much ado about nothing. So I'm not ready to draw a cartoon about it yet. Let's clear this up. Alright, let's round this speech balloon a little bit so that it's more clearly a speech balloon. Looking good there. You'll also note that I have a haircut since my last video, and I'm growing the beard back. So, starting to look more like me. Alright, Donald Trump. I'm going to draw him with the hard pencil so that I'm not rendering too much. With the soft pencil, I tend to render too much. That's working. So, he's got his wonderful tuft of hair. goes out kind of thin like that. And then he's got these wonderful little frog licks over his ears. I am not an anti-Trump cartoonist, which I guess would put me in the minority. My position on the candidates is that I'm going to vote for whoever I think is least likely to get us into a war. And the ones most likely, I think, are the ones like Cruz, who has all of that religious baggage, and I'm afraid that he's gonna want to move the apocalypse and bringing back Jesus Christ along a little bit. So that makes him dangerous in my point of view. And I'm afraid too many of the Republican candidates have that apocalypse problem. George W. Bush moved the apocalypse along a little bit. Okay, Trump has eyes that go up like this and eyebrows that come up like that. Let's give him a nose first. He's got not a bad nose. Good looking guy. And eyebrows. Let's give him his upset eyes. And he needs his little ducky lips. We'll go with ducky lips. A little bit more girth on his face there. He's got pillars. Give him pillars. Gabriel Miranda writes, Yage. I don't know what that means, but it sounds encouraging. Thank you, Gabriel. Okay. I'm going to clean that up a bit later when I do the final art here. 6 people are watching on YouTube, but only 1 on Twitch. So it looks to me like Twitch isn't quite living up to its promise. Once I get better at these, I'm going to announce them on Cagle.com and in the newsletter in advance. And then keep my appointment time for when I'm supposed to draw it. That should improve it a little bit. Ooh, broke his nose. I use a particularly thin, slick paper for doing these drawings because I bought a whole bunch of it when I had a printer that wanted to use this paper. And the printer died, but then I still had all the paper. And nice big paper. Hate to throw it away. Alright, let's you can see that as I'm drawing Trump, I'm looking at Trump in Google Images, and I need to switch to Ted Cruz. So just so you know, that's what I look at as I draw. Get a sense of who they are. Trump's eyes go up. Nose is a little bit straighter. I'll get him better as I have a little more time to percolate on him. Alright, Cruz. Cruz has interesting little male pattern baldness. Comes down like that. He's got these great eyes. He's these wonderful coming up eyebrows. So, anybody watching this have a comment? Waiting for comments here. He's got some distance between his eyebrows. And then a fascinating long nose. He has a great face. Go back to my drawing of him from before. There he is. You can see on my monitor inset. I know what I'm looking at. I wanted to get this kind of eyeball stuff happening like I did in my drawing before, so I'm going to rip myself off a little bit. That's looking Cruisian. He's got a bit of the forehead coming out like that. Looks good. That, you need a little bit of the forehead coming out to emphasize the male pattern baldness. Okay. So it looks like chat does not work on Twitch. I get error messages. Sorry, we're unable to connect to chat. So I think it's going to be a while before we get Twitch figured out. I'll go back to Cruz over here. Another thing interesting too is his upper lip is short and interestingly inset from his nose. Starting to get him. His bump on his nose starts higher. He's got nice eyelashes too. Yeah, I'm starting to get him. So Theo, if you're still watching this, see if there's anything you can do to get chat working on Twitch. On Twitch, where we have nobody watching. Few people watching on YouTube. All right. That's the bottom of his cheek. I'm starting to get him. Not a bad Cruz. He needs a bigger foot. And he's going to need a bunch of pain stars. So this is going to shoot out of here. In here, in this speech balloon that Donald Trump's whacking him with, is going to be the Canadian flag. Cruz was born in Canada, which would be a problem for Obama among Republicans if he was born in Kenya to an American citizen mother. But apparently Republicans don't mind much if you're born in Canada to an American citizen mother. That's just a criticism of Obama that doesn't carry over to Cruz, I guess. but worth doing some bashing. Alan writes, just enjoy watching a master at work. Oh, you throw around the compliments and they make me melt. So, what would even more hilariously clever is if you started incorporating hidden encoded elements in the details that, even if openly shown in creation, I don't know. Get a reputation for hiding stuff in your art, and the editors are going to get mad. Unless you do like Hirschfeld or Nick Anderson, hide your kids' names in your cartoon. Twitch went offline, Twitch went back online. Good deal. Live on Twitch again, Theo writes. It looks like you've got some comments working on Twitch, Theo. That's great. And we've got 2 people watching on Twitch. What a deal. All right. I think that's a pretty good cruise there. Kind of happy with my cruise. So, Alan Simpson, I don't quite understand what you're suggesting. I'm not quite sure what it is I would want to hide. Because part of the idea of doing a cartoon is you want to bash people over the head, as Cruz is being bashed, with the point that I want to make. So if it was hidden, kind of defeats the purpose. Except to, I guess, create a little bit of interest. Cruz's ear that flops out at the top. Got a good big forehead, he says. So we're going to need a bunch of pain stars. Pain stars. I think I'm getting pretty close to wanting to start on my final line art. I put my name over here. Because I'm thinking that the name over here is going to be too disturbing to the leg stuff that I've got going on with Trump. And I think I'm just about done. I'm going to put the Canadian flag in with Photoshop. So it'll just be a graphic. Am I happy with Trump's hands? Take a look at that. Alan writes, could be clearly pointed out, yet also fully honestly with parallel explanations fully denied. Like, what inside joke? So, Alan, what's an example of something that you would like to see me hide in a cartoon? What is it I would say that would be surprisingly hidden? The only things I know that people really hide in their cartoons are kids' names. I have hidden caricatures of myself and wife and kids in the cartoons before. And I've heard about cartoonists who will make deals with people to put them in their cartoons. A couple of times I've heard of cartoonists that have a fundraising thing where they would agree to put the donor's image in the cartoon. I could do that as a fundraiser. Every so often I do a crowd scene cartoon where it wouldn't be hard to put people's caricatures into the cartoon. So yeah, I could do that. I'm starting to understand why there aren't more cartoonists doing this. I think I'm the only editorial cartoonist so far to try live streaming. And it is technically daunting for us old coots. Let's go back to Trump. So, Trump. Your eyes are interesting. Alan writes, for example, a month or two back, the news ran a Bloomberg-created Trump Loves Polls super clip of examples from his speeches. Okay. So what would I do with that? That would be secret in a cartoon. I'm not quite sure. Okay, Trump. Gotta wear the old man reading glasses. I'm gonna start with his eyes because I want to have the most time to reconsider his eyes. He has an interesting upper eyelid that wants to come up on this side and down like that. Yeah, this eye's not good. We'll be in a minute. Not quite understanding yet, Alan. But I appreciate you being here. I mean, that's kind of looking like his eyes. His eyebrows. Come down like this. And have a little bit of hang at the back. Now let's do the nose. Not a bad looking nose. Alan writes, which I saw, laughed my head off at, and then enhanced, upgraded, and recycled back into the communal content stream. This was the news on Bloomberg that Trump Loves Polls super clip of examples from his speeches. All right. Trump has these interesting kissy lips when he wants to do that. Otherwise, his mouth is pretty flat and wide and uninteresting. But the kissy lips. For what's interesting. I like the kissy lips. Face is actually a little wider than you expect, too. Yes, some good nose shadow there. A little bit of bump to the edge of the face. I think I'm getting a good Trump. So let's get this arm right. I'm gonna need. Notice I get a little bit of curve going back this way because I want to emphasize the power of his swing. And I need to get the wrinkles right in his clothes. I can match this on the other arm. I think I may put them both into pinstripe suits. Okay, Alan writes, hang on, I'll just try and find the specific back and forth in my Twitter stream rather than try and explain. It was the day of that controversial GOP debate where they accused Ronnie Morgan. Nice to see a comment from you here, Ronnie. say some stuff and I will respond. Sorry that it takes about a minute and a half for the lag time. Okay. This is actually a pretty simple cartoon as cartoons go. It should go pretty fast. Well, it is going pretty fast. Now, Trump's hair is a challenge because it's very light and fluffy, and you don't really get stuff that lends itself to a hard pencil or pen ink line that I need to use in a cartoon. His hair is just so light and fluffy. But do what you can do. It's just a little poof. The hair is a little poof. Poof. Okay. I start to get the idea that YouTube's working better than Twitch. He's got these interesting little streams of stuff that happens on his head. I'm gonna have to get away from this hair for just a minute to see if I think it's right. Okay, his ear hides in here. I could do a video just on drawing ears. Probably should do that kind of thing. Thought about doing some little instructional videos. Let's see how good I get at the technical end of this before I commit to that. Alan Simpson writes, MSNBC zing moderators of attacking them or whatever because there was a hilarious giant invisible white tiger in the room underlying the entire setup, which is the perfect example. Be right back. Alan, you are pretty esoteric to my old man ears. I'm not quite understanding what the heck you're talking about. Trump's action lapels going here. Action lapels. He's going to have the pinstripes because he's got that long, well, a wide area of his jacket that needs some detail in it. Yeah, I think that's working. I'm trying to develop this kind of idiot savant skill of talking all the time while I'm drawing, concentrating on something else. Theo writes, quality on both Twitch and YouTube is the same. I guess that's good. Or perhaps he was making the point that it is not good. I may need to try doing one of these on Twitch only to see if it's necessary, because I know that I can get a good stream going on YouTube, but I have not yet had success with Twitch. But I like the Twitch creative community. And so that's where I'd like for these things to reside, and that's where I'm thinking that more of the art student types might drop in. So Alan writes, not understanding what I speak of yet, completely understandable, but oh so hilariously priceless once you do. Hang on, working on it. Alan, you're a mystery. Okay. Working on the shoes here. The master of shoes is Jack Davis. I'm a big Jack Davis fan. And I don't draw Jack Davis style shoes. One thing that's so charming about Jack Davis's shoes is that he really, in his own way, he caricatures actual shoes. When he does the Oxford shoes, and back to Theo. Theo's on my cell phone over here. Theo, my brilliant tech guy who makes all the Cagle.com universe work online. And it is a complex universe because the main thing we do is deliver the cartoons to the newspapers and facilitate the cartoonists all uploading their own cartoons and dealing with the editors and dealing with the billing, which is all very big, complex, automated tasks for us. This is where Theo spends most of his time. We have a small syndicate that distributes the work of about 75 artists to about 850 subscribing newspapers. And then we also have the pay-per-use site where people buy one-time usage on their credit card and such. That's politicalcartoons.com, as you see there on the bottom of the page. Page instead of screen. I'm such an old man. I think I'm getting pretty much done with nah, I've got to do the pinstripes on Trump. Should I do this pinstripes before I move on to Cruz? I probably should, or else I'll be running my hand through them. Alright. So Theo, if you're watching this, I think my video is not showing up in the creative community in Twitch. So if you could check that and see how that's looking and working, I would appreciate it. I'd like to know that showing up on the page there. If you're coming in new to this, I'm drawing Donald Trump bashing Ted Cruz on the head with his speech balloon, which is the Canadian flag. So basically he is just attacking Ted Cruz on the Canadian-born issue. Graphically in my cartoon. And if any of you would leave comments, that would be very nice. Not sure comments are working in Twitch, so if anybody watching there would leave a comment, that would be helpful. All right, Donald. That Donald. I think that's working. Ah, Theo tells me I am showing up in the community, creative community page on Twitch. Well, that's nice. I guess that also gives me a sense of how many people are going to switch to that. Oh, hashtag drawing. Okay. Looks like the Twitch hashtag doesn't make a lot of difference. So Theo, do you have a window up on Cagle.com to direct people to this? There we go. Oh, I'm sorry. What happens here is I've got my camera down on the drawing table. So every so often as I flip the paper around, it flips in front of my camera, and sorry about that. That's just the price of being so up close and personal to the process. You're right in the middle of everything. What a deal. Okay. Yeah, I think I need to go with the pinstripes now. So let's start on the pinstripes. Pinstripes are easy and forgiving because you can draw back over them and black parts in and do shading and stuff. But a little bit of pinstripe showing through is just all you need. Yo says I am showing up in the creative page on Twitch. Good, good. My first time today trying Twitch, and I'm trying to do it simultaneously with YouTube because we know how to deal with YouTube on the site and haven't quite figured Twitch out. And YouTube, so far, seems to be more stable for us than Twitch. I think that's just because we haven't figured Twitch out yet. And the reason to do Twitch is because they have that nice creative community. I like the idea of going to a place and seeing lots of people drawing, painting, sculpting, just a view on their tabletop. Charming idea. Got me to try this. I'll give him a little bit of tone in his pinstripes, so they're not going to look quite as harsh as they do in the black and white. Well, harsh, I should say, textural, crosshatchy. I like pinstripes because you can take a big empty area, fill it up with these lines that not only describe Wall Street and business suit, but also define the volume of the form and give it lots of range of texture. Okay. This also gives me a good measure of what kind of likelihood I have of people stumbling across the video on the Twitch Creative page, and it looks like they're pretty unlikely to stumble across the video on the Twitch Creative page. So I have yet to figure out the mechanics of dealing with all of this. I think the audience on Cagle.com just wants to come scroll through cartoons and isn't quite interested in spending the afternoon with me while I draw pinstripes. Which I can understand. But we'll give a shot at doing a little better announcement and direction on Cagle.com for these in the future, once I'm a little more comfortable with the tech and I'm not having you sit around while we figure out why it's not working like we did today. My apologies for that. If you sat through it. Looks like a few people are turning up on Twitch. Hey, on Twitch, send me a chat message, say something. Let me know that you're there. This is my first time doing this on Twitch. If you go to darylcagle.com, which is my personal website, look at my most recent cartoons. You can go to the YouTube archives of my drawing them and look back on that. There's not going to be a Twitch archive because this is my first time trying Twitch. But I am seeing a couple people come and go there. Maybe Twitch is not entirely dead. Right. So pretty soon, Obama's coming on with his State of the Union address, and he's going to have to say something about Iran holding these sailors. Will be interesting to hear. There's also some buzz about what he'll say being particularly provocative. And I usually don't draw State of the Union cartoons because usually not much interesting happens there. I don't really have anything to say. But maybe there'll be some action tonight. He comes on at 6 Pacific time. Drawing from Santa Barbara here. Okay. Starting to look good. I'm going to be doing a lot of kissy mouths for a while. I noticed that cartoonists have not come to a good conclusion about how to draw Trump. Over time, cartoonists develop a kind of a groupthink about major political figures, and you tend to see them start to be drawn in the same way. I don't notice that with Hillary yet, although she's been around for a long time. People draw her quite differently. And people have their own takes on Obama, although there are some commonality. You know, Obama's got the big ears by almost all the cartoonists, and he has remained tall. George W. Bush got short in office, as did Jimmy Carter. but Reagan remained tall, Obama remains tall. Alan writes, when you get the chance, revisit my Twitter stream from on or around October 28th. Okay. So, drawing in his pinstripes on his whole big suit. Going to take a few minutes. I think it's working. You guys could chat more. I'm particularly interested in getting chat from the people on Twitch, just to confirm that it works, because you guys are so quiet. I get complaints from people about my not being responsive enough to email. So if my lack of responsiveness annoys you, here I am available in chat. People who are most annoyed by my lack of responsiveness are people who want to sell me stuff. I have a remarkably large number of people who think that I should be the person to buy stuff from them. Alright, this is going to be a bunch of lines that are too long and too wrong to have that big. So he's going to need to have some shading going on under the arm. Around the action wrinkles on his suit. Always get wrinkles emanating from the button. Think about where your wrinkles are in terms of how you define what you're modeling, where the light source is, and what you want the image to convey in terms of action. I think that's right enough. There he is. Yeah, he's bashing Cruz. Alright, let's draw Cruz. Last thing I will draw will be the... Oh, Soul Beggar. I have my first real comment on Twitch. Nice to have you say hello, Soul Beggar. Would be nice if you would subscribe to my page. I need to get a number of people subscribing to the page to get Twitch to make me a Twitch partner. And I'm just getting started today. Well, 5 people are watching on Twitch. That's kind of nice. All of you, come subscribe to my page. Everything is free. I need subscribers to get Twitch to make me into a partner. So what I do here is, for those of you that are new to the stream, I'm a political cartoonist. My cartoons run in just about 850 newspapers, which is, they're all subscribing newspapers, about half the daily paid circulation newspapers in America, but they also subscribe to all the other people in my package that you can see at caglecartoons.com, which is a lot of cartoonists, and they probably also subscribe to other competing packages, which means that even though they subscribe to my cartoons, I can't ever know if they're actually going to reprint the cartoons. Which is it's all the cartoonists in this situation of competing with each other to try to get their cartoons in the paper. So best way to do that is to draw what they're talking about on the news at that minute, and much of the news lately has been Donald Trump's attacks on Ted Cruz for his being born in Canada. Theo reminds me to say, follow me on Twitch and subscribe on YouTube. That's what I need for you to do, because I need to build up some followers to justify doing these streams. Soul Beggar writes, I know, but begging for follows won't work. Is this your job or hobby? This is my job, Soul Beggar, and so far I think I'm the only editorial cartoonist who is drawing his editorial cartoons in a live stream. And I can understand why, because it's kind of daunting, and whenever I make mistakes, everybody gets to see them. I have to go pee. I have to tell everybody, now it's time for me to go pee. If I want to take a nap, I have to say, oh no, I need to sit here and finish the drawing before I take a nap. So many drawbacks to live stream before you get to all of the technical stuff, which is really kind of daunting as well. So thank you for leaving the comment. Give a good show and people will follow. Okay. The show is actually just drawing. And I think the people that would want to follow would be people that are more the how to draw kind of audience. But hey, you are in on my first Twitch cast. We'll see if I can make this streaming business work. Part of the allure of streaming is that I have to spend the time doing these drawings anyway. And if I can get my system set up, I'm showing up on the community page. Follow me on Twitch and subscribe on YouTube. If I can get this working effectively, then I've essentially got another kind of product that is not going to take me any more time than it already does to draw it in the first place. And I can connect with some different kinds of fans, which would be great fun. I've thought about doing online courses. And if I could develop a nice online following for the streams, then that would be a natural starting point to do some courses. So just looking for new things I can do within the constraints of whatever I'm already required to do. Lazarus writes on YouTube, just arrived. This cartoon comes from something that happened last week, correct? This cartoon, unless you've been watching for a while, Lazarus, is going to make no sense. But this is Donald Trump whacking Ted Cruz on the head with a speech balloon that will have the Canadian flag in the speech balloon. So this is a graphic depiction of his birther bashing of Ted Cruz, which has really been in the news quite a bit today, although since I started drawing this, the news turned to Iranians taking American sailors in the Persian Gulf, and Obama, what's he going to say about that in his State of the Union address that starts in half an hour? So, Soul Beggar. What can I do to make this a better show? Being unfamiliar with Twitch. Well, I have looked at the creative community and I think it's nice. So that's why I'm trying to make Twitch work. I would love it if I could just have windows open on the screen to the desktops of all my favorite cartoonists who I admire. I can make a list, and I can think of how difficult it would be to convince most of those guys to stream. Also, if you're working at a newspaper, I don't work at a newspaper. I started this little syndicate so I could do what I want. Lazarus says, I'm a little surprised you're not using your last cartoon for reference. I did show my recent cartoons, Lazarus, before you got here. But, no, I've got... Oh, here, you can see on the screen. I've got Donald Trump up on the screen, and I'm not looking at Ted Cruz anymore. But I had Ted Cruz up there just a second ago. And here's the flag that's going to be in his speech balloon. And I guess I'm going to draw Ted Cruz in just a second, so bring him back up. And you don't need to look at that, so let's go back to the regular image. So Lazarus, nice to see you coming back. So depending on how this story develops, it may be all you're on all the time tomorrow. We'll see. But I'm kind of suspecting that the story's going to fizzle out and just be routine mechanical problems, which would be a good thing. The Republicans are all set for Obama to be provocative tonight. I think he's going to say rude things about them. That would be interesting. Lazarus writes, just happened to see your note on Facebook. Just got home from book shopping. Book shopping. Ah, you must be an old codger. I do appreciate how cartoons look when they're printed on paper. And don't have the bookstores that we used to. I used to do best political cartoons of the year books every year. And our sales dropped. Our sales dropped pretty much in tandem with the sales of all books. Everybody's sales have dropped. And there was a competing book, the best editorial cartoons of the year. Cartoonists call them BECY and BEPY. Best editorial cartoon of the year, and then BPCY, my book. And the best editorial cartoons of the year book quit publishing a year ago. For the same reason. In fact, as my book was dropping in sales, we were watching the sales of the competing book drop just exactly, and our sales matched pretty exactly as well. So kind of sad to see that there's no best of year book for editorial cartoons that exists now. I've thought about doing another one as Kickstarter. Our best sales were in Barnes & Noble and Borders, and interestingly in military PXs. And Barnes & Noble and Borders kind of bit the dust and left us without our outlet. So I'm not sure if it's even worthwhile to try to deal with traditional publisher anymore. Basically what you get from a traditional publisher is they just want you, the cartoonist, the author, to sell the book for them. And I want the publisher to sell the book for me. And if I have to do all the selling just to people that show up on my website, I'm not going to get a publisher. I'm just going to do a stinking on-demand book. Which I guess is a conclusion that lots of people have come to. And the poor publishers are suffering for that. So I've got people watching on Twitch, but you guys are not sending any comments. Come on, folks. Say something. You've got me here being responsive. Training my savant brain to talk while I draw. Actually different parts of your brain that work while you're drawing. And I should be able to train myself to talk while I draw. Yeah, he's looking a little uncomfortable there. Lazarus, I go half price books. Well, Lazarus, you sound like an older guy. I'm 59. I'm always feeling older, particularly when I get to the Twitch crowd. My son plays video games on Twitch. It's quite a different culture. But their creative community is just quite nice. And I like the idea of inviting people to my desktop in my process. I think that's really kind of a friendly, charming idea. Except that the Twitch people tend not to talk. I think maybe a thing to do going forward is put my own invitation to the Cagle.com and social media people out. Lazarus, you're 50 and you refuse to use a Kindle or read ebooks. Yeah, us old farts. Things look better on paper. But times they are a-changin'. I think newspaper syndication, circulation is going to stay about steady now. They've taken their decline. They may continue to decline a little bit as their audience continues to age, but not much. They've already taken the hit. The biggest hit they took was advertising. That's not coming back, but they took that hit a while ago, and they can recoil at this level. And one of the things they're always going to need are editorial cartoons, although they kind of like to demonstrate that they don't need the cartoonists, don't they? Cartoonists get fired all the time. So, why, you might ask, am I doing all the pinstripes on Ted Cruz before I draw his face? Well, it's because I draw from right to left, and I don't want to drag my hand through the pencil lines. Although I use a pretty hard pencil, it's still a pencil. So draw from right to left, and I keep my hand out of the pencil. And there we go. My apologies for having little of value to say. He's looking right. So when I finish this and I'm happy with it, I will scan it for high contrast and then I'll color it in Photoshop. And it will post to the site tomorrow, because I'm not going to do all that tonight. But it won't take too long in the morning. And it may be that the news tomorrow morning is all about Iran and boats and State of the Union, and that could crowd out the Ted Cruz, Donald Trump birther talk. But if it does, it won't be for too long, and cartoon should have some legs. I noticed that the newspapers are really pretty good about saving things they like for a time when they want to use them later. My local newspaper here does that all the time. They'll come up with my cartoons from months ago. It was obvious they were saving them for some opportunity to run with a column or on some kind of anniversary or something, which is good. Just what good editors should do. Part of the reason for having Soul Bigger asked, do you just do political cartoons? Well, most of my career I was an illustrator, and I worked pretty much, well, not exclusively, but my work was dominated by Jim Henson's Muppets all through the 80s. My formative years. And I worked for them into the 90s as well. And I designed lots of toys. And I did lots of book and magazine stuff back in the day. But I sold a toy line to Hasbro, licensed a doll line to Hasbro back in 1995. And I could afford to not have to illustrate for a while, so I did a traditional syndicated cartoon with Tribune Media Services, which is now Tribune Content Agency. And one of the newspapers that ran my syndicated cartoon was in Hawaii. They called me up and said, "Hey Daryl, we like your cartoon. How would you like to be local editorial cartoonist for us?" And I said, "Cool." So I was local cartoonist in Hawaii for about 7 years. I started working for the Gannett Daily there, which at that time was the Honolulu Advertiser. Since it has gone out of business and combined with the Honolulu Star Bulletin to be the Honolulu Star Advertiser. And they run my cartoons now. But it was fun being a local cartoonist. And that kind of happened late in the career. It just was not such a plan as a happenstance. And I find that I love doing the editorial cartoons. So yes, all I do now is the editorial cartoons. I might depart to do an illustration once in a while, but it's kind of rare because I've got this small business that distributes the editorial cartoons, and I don't chase other kinds of work. And there's always a need for another editorial cartoon, so I'm always behind, and I'm not drawing as much as I should. And I do a lot of business stuff that takes up my time with the little syndicate. Alright, I'm going to have to start drawing Ted Cruz's face here. Last thing I'll do will be the the speech balloon with the Canadian flag. The Canadian flag can be done in Photoshop. The speech balloon needs to just fit into the hands and heads of all the characters here, so I'll draw that last. People tell me that these videos are kind of like taking a class. Yeah, I guess that's good. Cruz has an interesting, good-looking ear. There he goes. A little shade down there. Now the eyes are the fascinating part. The Ted Cruz defining eyes. They come in from the edges of his head and they go up. The eyebrows. And the eyes have these interesting eyelids. He's got a good deal of eyelashes going too. Doesn't get enough discussion of his nice eyelashes. I think that's looking right. So why am I not getting more comments, folks? There's a number of you there. Getting whacked. He's looking a little bit unhappy about it. Yeah, if things go well, these things can evolve into classes, and this will be a kind of a nice addition that doesn't cost me more time, since I have to sit and draw these things anyway. Good little bit of soul bigger. Yes, you're here. That is good. Nice for you to stick with me, Soul Bigger. So what advice would you have, Soul Bigger, on how I could better connect with the Twitch audience? You know, that front part of his forehead is wrong. It needs a fix. I think his male pattern baldness is a little bit wrong too. But he needs a roundness to the top of the forehead. Come around like that. There, I think that's looking a little more right. His hair is pretty dark. So, Soul Bigger, give me some advice. I need to better understand the Twitch. Ted Cruz has just a wonderful nose. Nose is wonderful. He's got a little bit of Lazarus writes, I'm working on a commission. So, you're an illustrator, Lazarus? What's so wonderful about doing editorial cartoons as opposed to my illustrator days? That I get to draw what I want. And I get to draw what I think instead of drawing what other people want and think. Not looking right. I think maybe it is. Soulbigger writes, make your work interesting to people to watch and don't quit after 2 or 3 days. All right. Well, this is the way I draw Soulbigger. The only thing I could make more interesting is what I say. And the answer to that is not as easy a thing to solve as just drawing on the camera. If Twitch could take off with their creative stuff, they could get a lot of they could get some top artists to be on there where you would say, wow, I know him, he's in 850 newspapers. And I think that would draw it out of the regular community and start bringing in some real fans in different areas. They could do that. It's hard. I think they need to make it a little easier for people than it is now, because it's daunting. Daunting to change your way you work, and it implies some risk. You know, I can draw something that makes me look foolish, say something that makes me sound foolish. Don't have that risk when you don't go on camera to do your stuff, and I think most cartoonists like to just sit at home quietly and be comfortable and hide in their cubicle. Soulbigger writes, they already have some awesome professional artists. Add hashtag Adobe channel and you'll see. Yeah, I have been impressed by what I see, and I like the attitude of it. And particularly interesting, I think, to look at the sculptors, because I didn't go that way, and interesting to see such a different skill set. Okay. Ted Cruz is a fun character. I like that he's easy to draw. So add Adobe channel and you'll see there's one sculptor, Think American, is really good, never seen anything like it, normally streams on weekends. Okay. I'm not aware of any other editorial cartoonists who do this, and I've seen 3 or 4 people doing comics in Twitch Creative, but not the comic stars that you think would bring their fan base along. And certainly no other editorial cartoonists. Lazarus writes, I think everyone always draws Trump's mouth the same way. Well, that's his interesting mouth, and his other expressions are not so interesting. Soulbigger writes, you got a metal punk UK guy that makes smar carts out of metal. There's lots of variety. Good. This is good. Well, we've got a political year. I was thinking that people would come into the stream and argue politics. I don't think that happens. I think the stream is more other artists. I hope this is reading to be a speech balloon. It looks like it's his groin doing the talking, huh? Maybe that's not bad. Okay. The problem with Trump's mouth having this nice recognizable kissy duck position is that that is often not the expression you want him to have, but it gets to be that that's the only way you can draw him. So Soulbigger writes, like your work, haven't seen any. Soulbigger, go to darylcagle.com and revel in all the past cartoons. I've been doing a little bit of live streaming here, and I have some of the recent cartoons as YouTube videos, as I'm starting to get to know how to do this. And it's a learning curve. We had a good deal of trouble getting the streams to work at the beginning of this. I like to draw lots of little gunk and crud. Because, you know, the world is genuinely full of gunk and crud. This is a gunk and crud world. Soulbigger asks, how did you find out about Twitch? Your son? Actually, Twitch got a good deal of press when they introduced their creative community. I guess it was last October. And it's taken me a while to... after deciding that I liked the idea, it's taken me a while to buy the equipment and get the setup, figure out how to make it to work. For me, getting that done in 3 months is a lot. But there was nothing for me on Twitch before they did this creative community. And it sounds like they're committed to it. Nice idea. So we'll see if Twitch works out. So the story with these stars is that stars are kamakana, or comic language for pain. Ouch, that hurts. And nice to have the good comic symbols that you can rely on. This is one of those declaratory kind of cartoons. You know, we all know Donald Trump is bashing Ted Cruz, so I just illustrate it. And a little bit of what this has to say is that this bashing hurts Cruz. And Cruz likes to say, nah, it doesn't make a difference. But I think it does. I think the Republicans are all primed to these birther arguments because of all those years of Obama birther arguments. What goes around comes around. And Ted Cruz is getting it coming around now. We had talked about this when John McCain ran, having been born in the Panama Canal Zone, which is definitely American territory. Barry Goldwater was born in the territory of Arizona, not a state. So the issue of being born in America but not in a state seems to be something that's been well discussed. And the issue of Obama being born in Kenya to an American mother, that was a scandal. Had to see his long-form birth certificate prove he was born in Hawaii. But it is absolutely the same story with Ted Cruz being born in Canada to an American mother. That should bother you about Obama, but not about Ted Cruz, huh? So, a little bit of made your bed, now climb into it going on with Republicans here, which amuses me. So, number of people watching and not making comments. Another thing I hadn't really thought about, how quiet people are. Alright, I'm trying to do a little bit of impact lines resonating out of where he's getting hit in the head with the speech balloon. Remember, the speech balloon is going to have an image of the Canadian flag in it that I'm going to just drop in Photoshop from the Canadian flag on Wikipedia. And that'll be good. It'll be a little jarring because it's a graphic image and it's not hand-drawn like everything else. Solbigger writes, it's normal. You spend most of the time speaking alone until you have your audience. Okay. I'm used to drawing without talking to myself like some homeless nutcase out on the street. So any more audience tricks, Solbigger? Do you do the game stuff on Twitch, or do you just look at the arts community? I have to admit that it's kind of fascinating to look at all the artists on Twitch. And I kind of enjoy it. And I think it's all very nice. Okay, now I need some impact lines on this side of his head. I want it to look like this thing has some impact, and it hurts! All cartoonists talk to themselves when they draw, writes Lazarus on YouTube. Well, I never talked to myself when I drew. But all cartoonists, I think, do make the expressions on the characters they're working on. And I know some guys who work with a mirror on their table so they can look at their own faces while they're drawing other people's faces. Which is not bad. Good thing to do. I haven't done that, but I appreciate it. I suppose that I also make these expressions, but you know, it's not a large percentage of the time that I'm drawing expressions. I draw lots of pinstripes and impact lines and stars and speech balloons. So, Solbigger writes, I'm a graphic designer and gamer. Games I just watch major tournaments. I use Twitch's TV now with the creative channel. well, let's get a few more editorial cartoonists on Twitch, and I would have those windows open all the time. Also, I'd like to see some more cartoon illustrators on Twitch rather than just the few that are doing comics and web comics and their personal graphic novel. I have never quite connected with the graphic novel thing because it seems to me that most of these graphic novels are autobiographical. People just drawing their own stories, drawing themselves as the character in the story. All right, that's fine, but why not do some broader journalistic stuff than just talk about yourself? I'm getting just about done here. Signature in. I can get away with doing a URL in a cartoon. The editors have been trained to not be bothered by that. So I've made my signature into my personal website by putting .com on it. And I usually sneak in a politicalcartoons.com, which can be a little smaller type. Let's put it here. Politicalcartoons.com is our pay-per-use site for people that want to buy individual cartoons, which is an entirely different market than the newspapers doing the syndicated stuff, which they only want to buy in a package. They don't want to report what they use. They don't want to pay what you'd have to pay if you were buying cartoons one at a time. They're real cheap, but that's because the market has been depressed by competition. Yeah, depressed by competition is pay per use too, but not quite as much. Lazarus on YouTube writes, what do you find most difficult when drawing big heads with tiny bodies? Well, I'm kind of moderate here, you know. These are big heads on their bodies, but there are guys who draw heads that are much larger than all the rest of the body, sometimes by a large percentage. And I don't do that. So, in general, if you have a larger face in a caricature, drawings are stronger if they consist of more face and more attitude and expression. So I remember back when I was working with MSNBC.com, and the things that would get the most traffic were images of people's face, real big in the little thumbnails that they would have on their promos there and on MSN.com. And very often you see pretty girl's face in that spot because that's what people want to click on. People ask, how can you do that big sweeping thing? And it's just because that's the way your wrist goes. You need to worry about it. Right, he's swinging that down onto Ted Cruz's head pretty clearly, I think. This could go a little bit farther. I think it's pretty clear that he's whacking him on the head. I just need to get the clarity that this is a speech balloon that he's whacking on the head. Yeah, Soul Bigger. I think that we're still in the days when it's the gamers that live in Twitch land, and I'm gonna take some time to draw these old dinosaurs out of the woodwork like me into this new world that started in October. There was a time when Twitch wouldn't allow any kind of creative stream like this. They wanted gamers, and I think we may see YouTube compete a bit for this. But so far, I don't see a nice creative community on YouTube, and you would think that they would want to cultivate that. All right, I'm going to draw a little bit more air crud, but aside from the air crud and the overworking things because I'm thinking it through too much, I think I'm getting pretty well finished here. So what's going to happen is Canadian flag is going to show up in the speech balloon. And that will be that. Soul Bigger writes, Twitch just wants money. This is money. Yep. Just want money. Well, it doesn't seem like a bad deal. You know, this is free for me to do. If they want to run an ad on it, I don't care. And they need to be more generous, I think, in their partnerships and in their sending traffic to people like me who are generously coming on here and giving them something for nothing. I like the way that they integrate Patreon into their feeds. I have kind of decided I'm not going to do Patreon. We do our own begging for money on Cagle.com. We're going to be dropping all the ads on Cagle.com because I hate ads. I'm going to switch to entirely to begging instead of running ads. And we have lots of great fans. Although I'm not sure they translate into being people that want to sit for hours and watch me do a drawing. They like to flip through a bunch of cartoons. Am I done? Am I done? I think I'm done. Let's take another look here. Here it is. Trump whacking Cruz on the head with the speech balloon. The speech balloon will be the Canadian flag, so that should make some sense. I think we're good. That's the end. So, what I'm going to do is tomorrow I'm going to color this, and I will post it on Cagle.com, DarylCagle.com, and on my Facebook and Twitter feeds. And you can come take a look. DarylCagle.com will be the best place to look because I'll also have the link to the YouTube video, and you can watch the making of all this, and that should be nice. So tomorrow morning it gets colored, and it goes out to newspapers before tomorrow's print deadline. And unfortunately, it's probably not going to get printed much because people are all going to be talking about State of Union address. I see Trump on TV. Cruz fires back on Trump citizenship attacks. Well, good. I'm a little bit in the headlines still. Not entirely precluded by boats and State of the Union. So, Soul Bigger writes, They don't need to see you for hours. They can just come in for 20 minutes to an hour if you entertain them as money on your pocket. You color by the computer or by hand. I will take this and I will scan it for line art, and I'll put it into Photoshop. I'll make the black lines the top layer, and it'll be transparent white, and the black lines will be multiply, so the colors go underneath it, and then in the colors underneath it I will put in all the colors and textures and junk that you expect. And then out it goes as a color cartoon. But coloring is not that big a deal, and it's particularly boring, I think. So I haven't chosen to put that online. If I had a big enough audience of people that wanted to watch and they were all saying, show me how you color it in Photoshop, then I would. Anyway, one last look at this. This is what it is. I'm all done. Come to darylcagle.com tomorrow, and you'll see it. And thank you so much, Lazarus and Soul Bigger. Come back when I do this again, and tell your friends to come subscribe on Twitch. We'll see if I can get a Twitch partnership going. Thank you, everybody.